This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning to all the participants for joining this webinar over here. I am Professor Sagar Ande from Dr. Rajendra Institute of Pharmacy in associated with importance as well as the role or different type of the aspect that has to be covered in a quality assurance over here. I welcome you all on the behalf of our So welcome you all for this session of today's webinar, Role of Quality Assurance in a Pharmaceutical Industry. Now I would like to invite for the welcome words to our Honorable Principal, Dr. R.L.BAKAL sir, to unmute his mic and please share your words over here, sir. Over to you, sir. Probably he may get disconnected after some period of time. Maybe sir will get joined with us later on. He will share his words with us. Right now, to introduce to our today's eminent speaker, I invite here my one of the colleague, Ms. Singhal ma'am, to give the introduction of today's eminent speaker.
Thank you, sir.
Singhal ma'am, unmute your mic. I request all participants until they are told to unmute themselves. Please do not unmute to you. Yes, carry on, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good morning to one and all. I am Professor Nikita Singhal, working as a lecturer at Dr. Rajendra Institute of Pharmacy, AMRAVATI. Today, I would like to give a short introduction about this event and why we have planned this event. Today, on the occasion of 59th National Pharmacy Week 2020, our college, Dr. Rajendra GODE Institute of Pharmacy and Dr. Rajendra GODE College of Pharmacy, AMRAVATI, in association with IPA, AMRAVATI's local branch, has organized a national webinar on role of quality assurance in pharmaceutical industry. So our today's eminent speaker is respected Matilda George, ma'am. Ma'am, we are pleased to welcome you and we are overwhelmed by your presence. I would like to give a short introduction about Matilda George, ma'am. So she is basically firstly a pharmaceutical quality professional, trainer and consultant. I would like to say some details, educational details about you, ma'am. She did his MSc in organic chemistry, then later on she did diploma in management. After that, she is a certified analytical chemist for chemical instrumentation and microbial analysis approved by FDA. Apart from all this, she is a Six Sigma Green Belt certified from Indian Institute of Statistics, Bangalore. She has a nearly 30 years experience in spearheading quality assurance and QC operations in the pharmaceutical industry. She has experience in the laboratory as in charge with prestigious Food Limited DEVAS. Later on in 1988 to August 2015, she worked as a general manager at QC in Sun Pharmaceuticals Limited, that is also in DEVAS. After that, in 2015 to September 2017, she worked as a vice president at Quality with Strides Session Limited, Bangalore. Then in 2017 to 2019, she was a director, Quality with Vienna Training and Consulting LLP, Bangalore. Then in September 2019 onwards, she is working as a freelancer in the domain of quality in pharmaceutical operations. Apart from all this, her core competencies are in she can handle HPLC, GC, AAS, XRD, LCMS, TLC, ion chromatography dissolution, NIR, Raman spectrometer, particle size analyzer, UV, FTIR, all this which are required in QA. Her technical domain is in she can handle the advanced instrumentation techniques like HPLC, GC, AS, and she can handle the software applications like SAP, TrackWise, documentation management, Chromeleon, Empower, LIMS, and LMS. Apart from this, her key skills is in pharmaceutical quality audit and compliance, training and skilling, lean operating systems, investigations and remediations, laboratory automation and design. This was a short introduction of you, ma'am. You can carry on with the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Singer ma'am. You can mute yourself. I think so. Our Honorable Principal Dr. R.L.BAKAL sir joined with us in the session. So I would like to invite him to give the introductory words for today's session. Sir has more than 25 years of experience and he has guided more than 50 MPharm students, especially for the projects like on the basis of quality assurance and quality control. Sir, can you audible to us? Please unmute your mic. I think so, sir is not able to connect it over here. So I will brief about this today's session. That first, Matilda George ma'am is going to deliver his session over here for around 40 minutes. Then after there will be the question and answer session, which will be conducted by Professor Dongre madam. So for that one, if you have any queries during the session, you can put it in the chat box or you can raise your question so that our coordinator will connect it with you during this session. Okay, so this is our today's scenario and we are celebrating over here 59th National Pharmacy Week. So Please get the benefited from these sessions, and it will be make more beneficial for you in the future. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, you can continue with your session. Matilda, George, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, and thank you, ma'am, for the introduction. I am delighted to be part of this webinar and this education session. And although I've been in the industry, it is my passion to deliberate and whatever we have learned over the years, I always have a passion to pass it on to the younger generation so that it will be beneficial, and it will be my pleasure to have you all help you to onboard to the next phase of the maybe your profession, maybe it be industry, and we'll be delighted to help you out for that, and hope that this today's session would be useful to all of you. So I welcome you to this learning session, and I believe that this whatever we are talking today would be useful, and it will help you to better understand the industry per se. And as you have gained theoretical knowledge in the academic institutions, the next phase is for implementing the knowledge that you have gained. So I hope that this entire session would be helping you in that aspect. So I would like to welcome you all, and I appreciate the interest, although it is a pandemic situation, but I am seeing more than 180 participants in this webinar. So it's it's worth to be applauded, and the technique, and I appreciate the management for giving the opportunity to the students and to the learners. So we'll begin here now. So today I'll be discussing about the role of quality assurance in the pharmaceutical industry. So as you all know, that quality assurance plays a very important role in the manufacturing and the approval of the pharmaceutical drug products. So we'll see, in how do we contribute as QA professional, and believe me that this profession is very much interesting, and there is a lot of things to be learned. And as you proceed ahead in this learning session, you will come to know more and more about the profession per se and the challenges, and it is a challenge, but it's worth interesting also as you proceed. So let's see, how we go about it. So we should understand what is quality. So as you know that quality is never by an accident. We have to inbuild quality. So it is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. So the last line is very important, and this is a quote given by William A. Foster. So if you see the last line, it represents the wise choice of many alternatives. So there are many alternates, and it depends on the professional or the management to choose the wisest of the choices that are available. So quality, the definition of quality in a pharmaceutical product is a measure of the excellence or a state of being free from defects, deficiencies, and significant variations. Here, I would like to compare the quality of the pharmaceutical organization to that of a aviation industry. So if you see, in aviation industry, not 0.0001% of error is acceptable, because you understand, how critical it is. If there is an error, if that error is not attended, what will happen? It will cost lives, isn't it? So we have to be very careful in aviation industry. We ensure that each and every step is checked, corrected before the flight is taken off, right? Similarly, in the pharmaceutical industry, why quality is so important is that we are manufacturing the goods which are the end users are patients. And patients, we cannot take a chance, We cannot say that, okay, it's okay if it's a little substandard, if the potency is not meeting, it's okay. No, we cannot take an industry. So always remember that our profession, being quality professionals in the pharmaceutical industry, is very much linked to that of the aviation industry. So what is the objective of quality? The objective of quality is to guarantee high quality products to the consumer. Here the consumer, we know it is a patient. Now the patient can be an adult, it can be a child, it can be your own relative, right? So you cannot just compromise on it. So to deliver products free of all possible contamination, this is the end objective of quality. Now, why quality is so important? In the pharmaceutical environment today, because there is a lot of competition, there are a lot of constraints, there are a lot of demands, and there are a lot of regulations. All this put together, we just have to ensure that we are much above, we are number one. Okay, within the industry itself, there is a lot of competition. Because when you go to buy a simple paracetamol 500 milligram at the medical shop, you'll find 10 different brands. Now, which brand would you choose? If you are quality conscious, you will see what is the claim of the product, what is the shelf life, okay, where it is manufactured. Only after you have the assurance, then only you will buy it, right? So this is what the quality is. And to meet all this, we have to be consistently updated. We just cannot have any negligence in our way of working. And to manufacture and deliver consistently zero defect products to the patients. We cannot have, like, we have manufactured 10 batches, out of that 2 batches are rejected due to quality reasons. And if this is a trend, even the regulators will come heavily on us. Now, the quality and efficacy and safety attributes of the products must be ensured so that the consumer health is not compromised. So at every step, we need to ensure who is the end customer, who is the end consumer, and we have to ensure the safety and efficacy of the drug. In the FDA perspective, the quality systems are these, the quality system, that is the first and foremost. We have got production system, we have got facilities and equipment, laboratory controls, material system, packaging and label system. These are the various systems, 6 systems, which are important in the pharmaceutical manufacturing system. If you have heard about CGMPs, now what is CGMP? Current Good Manufacturing Process. Okay, so what is CGMP all about? Let's understand what is CGMP. CGMP is all about all this, in the manufacturing perspective, it is all about clothing. That means in the manufacturing, during the analysis, we need to have proper gowning, so that we are not adding contamination to the manufacturing as well as to the product that we are analyzing. There are procedures how the hair should be protected. We cannot use cigarettes. Our personal hygiene is of utmost importance. In the manufacturing area, food and beverages cannot be taken inside. It cannot be consumed. Why? Because drugs and medications are being manufactured. Even the waste that is generated during the entire process, there is a process how to handle the waste. Now the glass and light fixtures, that means in the manufacturing, we cannot have open fixtures. That means something is hanging out. We should have enough light. That is also specified for each area. If some observation is carried out, maybe we need to have bright light. So everything is specified. Then even the pest control, bins, tools and materials that are to be used, the contractors. That means the service of certain services that we are outsourcing, and they are coming to our premises, and they are giving their services. Even they are bound to follow the CGMP regulations. We should have enough product protection, food inserts, metal protection, everything. So these are all what all total GMP is all about. And during the manufacturing, manufacturing, holding, packing, everything, analysis, every stage, we have to take care of the current good manufacturing practices. Now, why we have got certain regulations? Now, the regulations establish minimum GMP for methods to be used and the facilities or controls to be executed for the manufacturing, processing, packing, and holding of a drug product. Why? Because we have to ensure that it is safe, it has the appropriate identity and strength, and it meets the quality and purity characteristics. Now, this 21 CFR Part 210 and 211, these are the basic GMP requirements of US FDA. And this is world renowned and it's world accepted. So if you refer to this guideline, you'll get everything, you know, how to manufacture. So all about like manufacture, processing, packing, and holding of a drug product. That is all mentioned here. Then what are the basics of GMP? We have got quality control, quality assurance, and documentation. These are the three basic requirements. So what is quality control? Quality control is all about to ensure that the products meet the required specification. What does quality assurance mean? That we have the systems which ensure control and consistency through validation, validation, and validation. For each and every process, be it the analysis, be it the manufacturing, validation starts right from the R&D perspective. We are supposed to use validated procedures for manufacturing, for analysis. So we cannot use unvalidated procedures. Why? Because we need to ensure the safety and the consistency of the drug which is produced. Now, documentation plays a very important role in the pharmaceutical perspective. Why? Because we have to follow certain good documentation practices. In the pharmaceutical industry, it's like a Bible, you know, that if it is not documented, it didn't happen. That means if you have not documented that this activity is done, you're not put the signature, sign and date, then and there, you know, contemporaneously, it means that it never happened. So nobody will believe that the activity was executed if they don't have the documentary proof. So in the CGMP, these are the basic three perspectives which are to be given highest priority. Now, if we are doing any violations, what will be the consequence? That also we need to understand. So if there are violations, what will happen? It will indicate that the product is adulterated. It will result in the shutdown of the manufacturing facility. There will be seizure of product. We'll have to recall the product from the from the market. Then it will be a news, you know, whenever anything happens, you know, suppose the latest news, if you're aware of it, people are tracking the production of the vaccine for COVID-19, right? So every day morning we get the updates. What is happening? What is happening for the vaccines which are being developed in America, in the Europe, in India? Suddenly there is a news that one of the vaccine manufacturer, the clinical study is not proper. So there are many things, you know, so everything comes in the news and people are aware of it. Now with this fast development of the access to the technology, the entire, whatever happens in one corner of the world, you know, it travels within seconds to the next corner. So people are aware of it. So you cannot hide it from the general public. And once if all this problem happens, what will happen? There will be a competitive disadvantage. Competitive disadvantage means you lose the market. Okay. So if you are on the top and you have got some problems, you have got some quality issues, you lose the market and the next competitor in line will take over. So there will be a loss to the revenue. So we just cannot imagine, you know, what are the consequences of GMP violations. So it will result in GMP hold on product applications. That means to market in a certain region, we need to get the approval of the respective drug authority. So if we have problems, you know, they'll suspend our license, they'll suspend our approval. We may land up into injection and consent degree. These are all severe cases, you know, wherein the production and even the product is banned from entry to a certain market. There will be criminal investigations and indictments. That means even there will be legal procedures, lawsuits and all. So this slide just indicates, how you have to constantly be aware of the quality requirements, and slackness is not accepted in the pharmaceutical industry. You just cannot, like we say in Hindi, chalta hai attitude. So that attitude we just cannot have in the industry. Why? Because we are dealing with patients and is the efficacy of the product that we produce. Now, we say that quality is the responsibility of every individual in the organization. So, every individual contributes. So, even right from the CEO of the company to the person who is responsible for the routine hygiene, for the housekeeping activities, even that person is supposed to follow a procedure of cleaning. So it has to be wiped with Savlon or so much percent Dettol. So many times in a day you have to wipe the area, you have to ensure it, you have to maintain a record. So there are multiple requirements, and for that reason, every person contributes to the quality in an organization. So it's a cumulative effect which cannot be negated. So in the pharmaceutical perspective, quality means quality assurance and quality control. Quality assurance, by the word itself, we know it's a department which ensures quality, which assures quality. It is right from the receipt of the raw material till the dispatch of the finished product, every aspect. So quality is there in the warehouse, quality is there in the dispensing of the material, quality checks are there at the manufacturing shop floor, it is there for the sampling, it is there when the sample travels to the quality control lab. There is a process, how you have to receive the sample, how the sample has to be stored, which procedure is to be followed for analysis, how the documentation process should be there. During the analysis, if there is any deviation, any failure, how to handle it. So each and every step, right from receipt of the raw material till the dispatch of the finished product, there is a quality assurance department in each and every aspect of the activity. Now, quality control is the control of the drug, quality of the drug or the raw material or the packing material or the environment monitoring activities which happen in a manufacturing scenario. So as I said, it is there from receipt to finished product dispatch, but the responsibility of the quality assurance doesn't end there. Why? Because your product is there in the market. Tomorrow there is a market complaint. That complaint comes back to the quality assurance. Quality assurance need to then evaluate it. What is the seriousness of the complaint? Is it genuine? Is it not genuine? They have to document it. In subsequent slides, you will come to understand what are the different aspects, how quality assurance is, it's like a heart and soul of the pharmaceutical industry. So main difference between both these sections. So cumulatively, both are quality assurance, but within quality assurance, one section of the team, they are responsible for obtaining confidence that is required to ensure that quality and service is satisfactory and up to the intended use. Quality control, on the other hand, is pertaining to the activities for sampling, testing, and specification of the pharmaceutical products. So I believe that the difference between quality assurance and quality control is clear to the team, because generally when we are learning about pharmacy and in the industry, there is always a confusion, what is quality assurance and what is quality control. So there is a clear-cut demarcation. Now if you understand what is quality by design. So quality by design is a very important topic, and especially in the current perspective, quality by design means the quality need to be ensured right from development at the R&D. When the product is developed, there itself you have to ensure that quality is embedded into each and every procedures, into the product, into the process, so that when that product moves to the manufacturing scenario, we do not land up in any problems, because that will be too costly for us, you know. So what is quality by design is, quality begins with research and development, so it should be ensured at the R&D phase. Product quality criteria need to be established at the development stage itself. Specifications and limit provide quantitative parameters for measurement. That means when the product is being developed at the development stage in R&D, there we are designing the specifications and limits are assigned to it. So if you don't do this activity diligently, when the product moves to the manufacturing scenario, we will land up in problem. You know, we may have physical problems, like if it is a tablet or capsule, you know, we may have physical issues like chipping and breaking and all those things, friability issues. We may have chemical issues like maybe the dosage form doesn't pass the assay, does not pass in the impurity test, and we may have failures with respect to the dissolution, disintegration, and lot many things, you know. So the development stage is very important because we have to ensure quality, and this entire process we call it as quality by design. So if you see on the right side, what is quality by design? It is a desired product performance, it is a product design, it is a process design, and it is a process performance. So once the product is designed, you know, then how it will perform when it goes to the processing. So when it goes to a large scale manufacturing, how will it perform at the manufacturing site? And further, when it goes to the market, what is the stability? Does it have problem with the stability? All that matters. And this is what we call it as QBD approach. And to ensure that, we should have written procedures, document how quality is assessed, attained, and maintained. So at the R&D phase itself, we need to ensure all these things. Then further, we need to have continuous monitoring, that is sampling testing, which will enable to confirm that quality is continuously built into the product. So being quality built into the product is a short way of expressing what QBD is. Now, what are the laboratory controls? So testing and releasing of batches for distribution. So testing and release, in short, what happens in the laboratory, I'll tell you. For manufacturing of a drug product, if you are manufacturing active pharmaceutical ingredients, we should have certain input materials, which we call it as raw materials. For drug products, it is actives and excipients. So when it is received, those materials are received, there is a process how to enter that. We just cannot buy from any vendor, you know, we need to have proper vendor qualification in place. Then we should have a certificate of analysis along with the batch, each batch that is reviewed. When it comes, then QA or QC goes to sample it. The sample is received in the laboratory. They do the analysis. When everything meets the specification, then only it is released for the production. So from the production, we'll get in-process samples, we get bulk samples, and we get finished product samples. That is further analyzed at each stages and approved as per the conformance to the respective specification. So there shall be appropriate laboratory testing as necessary for each batch required to be free from objectionable microorganisms. So apart from physical and chemical test, we need to ensure that this product is not contaminated with microbial contamination. So for that, we need to ensure the environmental monitoring as well as we analyze the product for microbial limit tests. So these are all specified in Part 11, 211, 165A and B. These are the various regulations. Then as you know that once the product is manufactured, so before it comes to the manufacturing itself, we need to assign a tentative shelf life. This is based on the R&D study of scale-up batches and stability batches. They do 6 months accelerated study and assign a tentative 12 months or 24 months based on the nature of the product. Further, after the manufacture, so initial 3 batches, that is the process validation batches, will be charging for stability. For the different conditions, you know, accelerated conditions, room temperature, we may have a different humidity and different temperature conditions. These conditions are designed as per the intended market of the product, you know, where it is to be sold. So a written stability testing program is designed to assess stability characteristics as required. Stability testing results must be used in determining storage conditions and expiration dates. So without having these data, you cannot sell the product into the market. So this is again defined as per this regulation. Now, product record review. So production and control records shall be reviewed and approved by the quality control unit to determine compliance. So we have the product assessment, trend analysis, and distributed product trend also. So it's not that you can just manufacture and if everything is okay, we just sell it to the market. No, that's not possible. We'll have to track the performance of the product in the market. And for that, what we do is that once the product is approved and marketed, one batch of each product is charged for annual stability at the manufacturing site. It is analyzed at different conditions, and during the analysis, if you find that any of the stage is failing, we have to thoroughly investigate it, and if the product is failing, we may have to recall the product. So there are a number of regulations which pertain to the distributed product in the market also. Then we'll just see what are the responsibilities of quality assurance per se, because today's topic is all about roles of quality assurance. So in the pharmaceutical scenario, quality assurance is responsible for the management of SOPs, which is standard operating procedures, specifications and test procedures, handling of customer complaints, investigations of deviation, auto specification and other non-compliances. They are responsible for change control, batch release or rejection, internal inspection, supplier quality assurance, imparting GMP training. So this is also a big responsibility of quality assurance. Quality assurance need to ensure that all the people who are working in the location, in the site, are trained on GMP aspects. If they are not trained, they have to be trained, retrained, qualified, everything. The record has to be maintained. If it is not there, the person is not allowed to do the respective work. Then quality assurance handles the regulatory inspections. We may have inspections from different authorities time to time. Then they are responsible for the review and approval of all GMP related documents, qualification, validation documents. Then approval of annual product quality review and overall compliance improvement. So it's not that we just can live with the base level of quality. Every day we have to show that there is an improvement. Then what are the standard operating procedures? So it is very important for us to understand what is a SOP. So SOP is write what you do and do what you write. There's nothing else. In pharmaceuticals, you cannot practice anything on your own. You have to follow procedure. And that procedure following SOP starts right from the gate, when you enter. So first you enter to the premises, what you are supposed to do? You're supposed to punch your attendance. There might be a biometric recording. Second, you have to go to your workplace. So if you're working in manufacturing, if you're working in quality control, there are certain requirements of gowning. So how to gown, how to do the gowning. Each and every process, there is a SOP. For the analyst in the laboratory, there is a process. How to handle the instrument, how to document, calibration, validation, handling of standards, number of SOPs are there. And SOPs is a set of instructions for all operating procedures, that is system, procedure, process that personnel follow every day. It should be, and what should be the procedure? It should be simple, easy to understand, easy to follow. There is no use of having very complex SOP, which the personnel are not able to follow it. What's the use of writing 100 pages of SOP and nobody is able to follow it? So the requirement is that the SOP should be simple and easy to follow. Then it should cover the whole gamut of activities, that is right from receipt, storage, processing, packing, testing, releasing, distribution and recall. So this is end-to-end, distribution and recall. SOP should be based on the regulatory guidelines. So there are guidelines, First of all, we have to follow the guideline of Indian FDA. Indian FDA is also no less. We have got Schedule M, Schedule L, lot of guidelines. They are also no less than any other reputed regulatory agencies. Then we have got US FDA, we have got EU, we have got MHRA, we have got, for Australia, we call it as PICS, like that, number of regulatory agencies are there. It should be version control. So whoever is following the SOP, they should follow the current SOP. So it is the QA's responsibility to ensure that only the current version of the SOP is available for the user. All of the obsolete versions need to be removed. So if during the audit anybody observes, the regulator observes that there is an obsolete version, it is a very big citation. Then everyone should be trained on the SOP before implementing new version of the SOP. So any revision of the SOP before implementation, we have to ensure that the concerned people who are supposed to be following these SOPs are properly trained. So these are the requirements and the details of the standard operating procedures in the pharmaceutical industry. Then what are the standards and what are the production and process controls? So written production and process control procedures shall be followed in manufacturing and shall be documented at the time of performance. So at the manufacturing shop floor, there is a process, how to manufacture the goods, how to handle the incoming raw materials, where to keep it, how to manufacture. There is a process. And during the process, each and every step has to be documented. Okay, and we just cannot say that, okay, I forgot it, I'll do it tomorrow. Nothing can be done. So as we saw in the previous slide, if it is not documented, it is considered as not happened. So not documenting the details as and when it happened is a crime in the industry that we need to consider it and we need to note it. So any deviation from these procedures shall be recorded and explained or justified. So if there is any deviation, it's not that there cannot be any deviation, there cannot be any human errors. Yes, there can be, there can be forgetfulness from the personnel, but it has to be trended, it has to be investigated, it has to be justified. So if for every process, there is a procedure how to follow it. Then what is customer complaints? So as I mentioned that once the product is distributed to the market, we have to keep a track on it. When the customers, customer complaints are the concern or the voice of the customers. So every organization has to give utmost importance to the type of customer complaints that comes in, because it is related to the drug. Your product is there in the market and the consumer finds a problem in it. Okay, so it is our responsibility at the manufacturing site that, and mainly for the QA, that they have to receive it, the complaint, it has to be logged and it has to be properly investigated. So there is a process. All complaints should be logged and there should be unique identification number. Then it should be investigated to identify the cause of complaint, that is the root cause, and extent. And if you find that this complaint pertains to others also, so when you investigate it, you may see that this is linked to other batches also. So you'll have to do an extrapolation and a good justification has to be there, and there has to be corrective action for that. Corrective, preventive action, and there should be a follow-up for the CAPA that has been executed. And there is a timeline within which the complaint has to be investigated and closed. There is a responsibility for the manufacturing location that the complaints need to be investigated and the finding need to be responded back to the complainant. It's not that we just receive the complaint, we do some documentation at our end and then we can close it. No, you have to respond with proper justification to the complainant and show, what are the, if that is a genuine complaint, what is the action taken? If that is a non-genuine complaint, how it is justified. So this documentation has to be truly done in a proper way in the manufacturing scenario, and we have to keep, and this is one of the most important responsibility of quality assurance. Now, what are the different types of customer complaint? So a customer complaint, one of the customer complaint that he has received a blister of tablet where one cavity has half tablet. So there was a blister which contained 10 tablets. So 9 of it was okay. The 10th one had a half tablet. That means a broken tablet was there. So in this case, what do you do? What you need to do is investigation. You have to log the complaint, and we have to refer, what is the operating procedure, process used to identify the root cause, and what is the CAPA. So as I mentioned in the earlier slide, we have to do a thorough investigation, and if required, we may have to review into other batches which were taken simultaneously, and we have to identify the root cause and proceed for a corrective and preventive action. Now, as I mentioned, there are deviations. There is a process to handle deviations. In the manufacturing scenario, we may land up in some deviations during our routine operations. So what are deviations? Deviation means departure from the approved instruction or established normal standard practice is known as a deviation. This is a very simple way of explaining a deviation. A departure from a normal or standard practice is known as a deviation. So you might be knowing, we have come to know that we have got operating procedures, we have got testing procedures, okay, we have got specifications. If a person has deviated from following that, we call it as a deviation. For example, use of a 4 ml pipette for dilution instead of a 5 ml pipette as mentioned in the standard procedure. So the analyst was supposed to dilute using a 5 ml pipette, but he took a 4 ml pipette. That's a deviation. Okay. Then types of deviations are mainly planned and unplanned. What is a planned deviation? It is an activity that is planned, known to be deviating from the set procedures. So a planned deviation is a deviation which is logged before the activity of deviation is happening. So for example, in the manufacturing, a substitution of talc from source vendor X, we need to substitute it to Y. That's a deviation. So this entire thing might be maybe some process improvement, or it is driven through a change control, some activity which is, or to improve the performance of the product or some quality attributes, we have to change the source of talc. Okay, so this is a planned deviation. The deviation has not taken place, but the organization wants to register a planned deviation. Now in this case, what happens, the deviation will be logged. There will be an justification why we want to go through this, and it will be sent to different sets of SMEs. SMEs is subject matter experts. There will be a cross-functional team. They will evaluate whether this can happen or not. And if it is justified and if it is okay, then the permission is given. But again, there is a process. There is a lengthy process to it. Unplanned deviation is an activity that has occurred as a deviation to the set procedures, but was noticed after its occurrence. So I believe that you might have understood the difference between a planned activity, a planned deviation, and an unplanned deviation. So unplanned deviation is something like weighing of a 0.5 milligram of gram of the sample instead of a 1 gram as mentioned in the STP. Similar as using a 4 ml instead of a 5 ml. So this is basically what a deviation is. Now, deviations may have impact on the product quality, patient safety, and compliance of GMP. All deviations should be logged with unique number. So there should be a traceability. So we call it as quality management system, QMS system in the pharmaceutical manufacturing scenario, wherein for each activity, for each record, there should be a unique number for identification. Then based on the severity, that means we assess the severity of the deviation with risk assessment and impact assessment. It has to be classified as critical, major, or minor. All critical and major deviation must be thoroughly investigated to identify the root cause. The batch of material should be quarantined. If there is a process, if there is a deviation in the analytical side or the manufacturing side, it has to be quarantined. From that stage itself, we cannot proceed by logging a deviation, proceed to the next step. No, we'll have to stop there. Based on the root cause and CAPAs to be planned and implemented, trending of deviations and reporting to management for analysis and improvement. Then rate of deviation is a key quality indicator and also criteria for right first time. Right first time, RFT is a very important term which is used in the pharmaceutical perspective. That means This indicates, how much of your quality system is rugged and robust. If you got number of deviations which are logged, planned and all that, this clearly indicates that there is a weakness in the quality management system. So deviation management is also another important perspective in the manufacturing scenario. Then deviation investigation. So as I explained, it is an unexplained discrepancy or the failure of a batch or any of its components to meet any of the specification, and it must be investigated whether or not the batch has already been distributed. So even after the distribution of the batch, also during a routine review, you find that there has been a deviation in one of the process. So immediately you have to log a deviation and investigate and see what is the impact of the deviation. So in our scenario of the nature of the business that pharmaceuticals are, it is I can say that it is a case of keeping a close monitoring on all the activities, whether it is a process or personnel. There has to be a close monitoring. And for each and everything, it has to be logged and properly investigated. So documentation is a must. Now, failure investigation. Failure investigation, it can be multiple types. Failure investigation can be through a process. There is a process failure. There is an analytical failure. So any type of failure, we again, like deviation, we have to log the failure and we have to log the investigation. So pharmaceutical procedure for failure investigation is executed by the systemic process that shall identify the most probable root cause. So even if we are not able to identify the root cause, we should at least reach to the most probable root cause. And the identified root cause shall be verified. The cause shall be corrected by a procedure. So once the cause is identified, we need to have a corrective action. Then failure shall not be repetitive in nature, and therefore the investigation process need to be robust. Failure investigation process is led by QA. So here also QA plays an important role, and it is assisted by a CFT, which is the core functional team consisting of stakeholders and subject matter experts. The investigation reports are checked by regulatory agencies during inspection. So all of these data, documentation, these are auditable. So we have to keep everything up to the mark. Anytime it can be audited by local FDA or international FDA regulatory agencies as ever is applicable. But we have to keep everything updated. So every time it should be, we call it as ATR, all time ready. ATR, RFT, these are all few terminologies that is typically used in the industry. Then investigation process per se, this is the flow actually. So when an investigation is logged, so one step or the one vertical is for identifying the root cause. Second would be for the risk assessment. Third will be the impact assessment, and fourth will be the CAPA. CAPA is corrective action and preventive action. Now for each, there are different tools which can be applied. So if you have to identify the root cause, these are quality tools, which normally we use 5 Ys. We can use fishbone diagram, that is Ishikawa. We can use Pareto analysis. We can use is not analysis. Then for risk assessment, we use FMEA, failure mode, fault tree, hazard analysis. This eliminates, this gives the degree of the risk, and the RPN number, risk priority number. Then impact assessment is identify risk to the patient. So once the risk is assessed, we need to identify what is the impact of that risk to the patient, to the product quality, to the system integrity, and to the safety. Having done all these 3 stages, we move to the corrective actions. We have to identify what is the need for the corrective action, establish the goals, develop a justification, and initiate effectiveness check. Now, this is a very important aspect of failure investigation, that we do all corrective action, but there are organizations who have got citations because they have not checked the effectiveness check. So in that case, it's like a time period, maybe 6 batches, 10 batches over a period of 3 months. We take a kappa to check the effectiveness. And here we prove, yes, the identified root cause is, that is the actual one, and whatever kappa we have taken is effective. So this is a slide to explain like how to proceed with the investigation and addressing the issue. Now, change management. Change management is an integral part of the pharmaceutical industry. What is change management? Change controls is a CGMP concept that is used for pharmaceuticals to focus on managing the changes to prevent unintended consequences. Okay, so changes, what are changes? So if you remember, right from the product at the development stage, we have got some written procedures. Okay, and like the example in the manufacturing you saw, there is an example where we wanted to change the vendor for a talc, any excipient, that we call it as a change. For analysis, suppose a column X is used. Now we, for some reason, for getting better resolution or better theoretic place, we want to change the configuration, length, or particle size of the column. We address these changes through a change management, and we call it as change control. Change control is a terminology. Now, changes are inherent part of pharmaceutical processes and systems, and it can be for addition, deletion, modification of manufacturing facility. So even if you are going to change any aspect in the existing manufacturing facility, also we have to direct it through a change control. Utilities, process, materials, product, procedures, equipment, everything we have to route it through a change management procedure. Then only the change can be effected. We'll understand how this is routed. So change control proposals are either permanent or temporary in nature. Like deviations, we understood what is a deviation, planned and unplanned deviation. Similarly, change control can be permanent or temporary in nature. So what is the change? How does it happen? So there is a request for change from the initiator. Okay, then it moves to the next stage where the impact analysis is assessed. Then based on the impact analysis, the change may be approved or denied. If it is approved, it moves to the implement stage. And after the implement stage, it goes to the review and reporting stage. This is the entire cycle of change management. And how it is, like, identify the change. We have to identify. These are the various stages and what happens at each stage, So identify the change, that is the type of change, reason for change, current state, future state, everything we have to write in that entire document. Why the change is required? What is the proposed change? Okay, next is what is the proposed change? So in proposed change, we clearly write what is the current one and what is the next one. Suppose if the example of talc, you have to substitute it. So we'll have to write what is the current vendor and what is role of talc in that particular formulation. Is it as a binder or as a disintegrant? We'll have to write everything. And what is the existing vendor? What is the status and what is the proposal? So next vendor, have we done any feasibility trial? Have we taken up some scale-up batches? Have we done some vendor validation? Everything we'll have to write here. The approach, then it goes, to the stakeholder. So there'll be a safety, they'll review it. And based on the review, even management would be involved. If we get an okay for the change, it goes to the implement stage. And once it is implemented, it goes to the monitor stage. So the entire change control process is a big process, which is in the domain of quality assurance. It is an important activity because change control for all the departments comes to QA. QA has to review it, QA has to give an okay, QA has to monitor it, whether it is in what stage. So each month, like in the monthly meeting, we have to report, how many change controls are open, what is the status, what is the issue with pertaining to long pending change controls, etc. Now, batch release. In the shop floor, QA has got an important role with respect to the release of the batch. In the shop floor, at various stages, QA is involved. How? Because each executed batch is evaluated by QA for correctness. Then it starts from the dispensing of the active ingredient and the excipient. That means, as I mentioned in the early slides, right from receipt of the raw material, QA gets involved. Then each stage is documented. So we call it as a batch processing record or batch manufacturing, BMR or BPR. So there the entire history right from dispensing till product packing and dispatch, everything is logged. So each and every stage QA has to sign it. They have to review it, they have to sign, and they have to give an okay. If QA feels that, okay, this stage is not properly done, the quantity approved is not proper, the reconciliation is not happening for the raw materials or the packing material, they can hold the batch. They can hold the batch and they can deny the permission to process further. So QA has got a very important role in the manufacturing per se, and even in the environmental control. So it's not alone for the process, even for, as you know, that for manufacturing also the entire environment has to be as per the designed temperature, humidity conditions, and special gowning conditions are also there. The people who are handling it should be properly trained and everything. So these are the entire, these are not the limited ones, but mainly I have covered the entire role of QA in the manufacturing scenario. So even at the production shop floor, QA has got a big upper hand. Then final batch release. If the lot of batch is a part of the validation activity, then ensure that all acceptance criteria are, even if it is not a validation criteria also we have to ensure. Then at the batch release stage, QA has to check whether it's a validation batch, whether any change control pertaining to this activity is open, then the batch cannot be released. Then whether there is a correctness in the yield, the yield, so based on the input, there is a certain yield which is fixed, so that minimum yield, that percentage has to be met. If the yield is not met, QA will not release it. QA will ask for explanation. Then if any stability study is planned, QA has to ensure that the samples are withdrawn timely. And then suppose for export batches, there may be some specific requirements. So that also is fulfilled or not. Based on all this review, then only QA will give a final go ahead. We have got another terminology in pharmaceutical manufacturing perspective, which we call as self-audit or self-inspection, which is very much required, So as you're aware that the entire process of manufacturing, quality, everything, all aspects are prone to regulatory inspection. And we are supposed to, in the manufacturing perspective, we are supposed to follow all GMP process and be all time ready. So to ensure that QA will conduct self-audit. Now in self-audit, what happens? QA will be leading, but it will be assisted by cross-functional team. So suppose there is an audit which is planned in the warehouse, and this at the beginning of the year itself, we have to fix the calendar. Which month, which department will be audited, and who all will be the auditing team. So it is generally a cross-functional team. Suppose audit for the warehouse is to be planned. Then we may have people from the production, from quality assurance control as a cross-functional team who will go to the warehouse and audit them. And this is a typical very tough audit, wherein if there are any observations, it is documented. Then the audited department has to give the compliance. So there is an entire process for this. There is a calendar and this has to be followed. And this is also led by QA. Then vendor audit. Vendor for us is the vendor who are supplying the packing materials. They are supplying the raw materials or engineering goods, or it can be a product or a service also. So service means, suppose we are outsourcing for any calibration. So QA is supposed to audit, go there at their premises and see whether their facility meets the requirement or not. So it's that we just cannot have the vendors in our list without a proper vendor qualification and assessment program. So this is also one of the important area which is covered by QA. Then training is a very important aspect, because in the pharmaceutical scenario, as I said, right from entry till exit, each and every stage we have to follow the procedures. How will a person know which procedure to be followed? Only with training. So QA, so training, we have got job description. So for each employee, there is a job description. Based on the particular job role, there are set of SOPs would be there. The QA will be identifying, the user department along with QA will be identifying the job role, map it to the relevant SOPs, and the person has to be trained. So training record has to be updated. If the person is lacking the training, he cannot do the work. This has to be ensured by QA. Although it is a responsibility for individual department manager, but overall, QA has to ensure. QA even has to ensure that GMP trainings are provided. GMP trainings, as I mentioned, you might have seen, many areas GMP trainings are involved, and many things are involved in that. This is a training, irrespective whether you are trained or not. Every year there has to be a refresher training, apart from the individual user departmental trainings. So we, in the QA, we ensure that there is a preparation of annual training calendar for every person in the organization. And this is monitored like monthly, quarterly, half yearly, and in the annual, the person has to complete it. If he is not trained, his training is lacking, he can be denied permission to access the workplace and do the designed work. So training is very much necessary to ensure that we don't make any deviation, we follow the procedure, keeping our end customer, that is the patients, in our mind. We have to get each and every person trained. So this is one of the important aspects where QA plays a major role. Another aspect is handling of regulatory inspections. So as I told you, our industry is prone to routine regulatory inspections with respect to GMP, with respect to the process, commitments, systemic audits, number of audits, and various health authorities like US FDA, MHRA, TGA. So routinely, many regulatory bodies will be coming, and it can be a informed audit or it can be a surprise audit. So we have to be always ready. And what is the role of QA is that QA has to conduct they have to facilitate the audit, and QA has to ensure that a pre-inspection. So a lot of things, before the audit, they have to send certain documents to the auditor. Then opening presentation, they have to coordinate, they have to accompany the auditor to the various departments. Whatever the auditor is asking for, all requirements should be immediately, so there cannot be any delay of supplying any documents. So generally we get 2 to 5 minutes. Within that, the document has to be submitted to the auditor. If you're not submitting within that time, there will be a doubt. There will be doubt on the integrity. So this is an important area. Then various good documentation practices. It is all about ALCOA and plus. What is ALCOA plus is attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, accurate. Now plus is for complete, consistent, enduring, and available. So any documentation we have to ensure ALCOA plus. So QA is the custodian of all documents and responsible for review and approval of all master batch records and packing records, specification, test procedures, SOPs, product dossiers and technical files, drawings, even the drawings, the site layout and engineering drawings, everything has to be approved by QA. All artworks and print proofs, validation protocols and reports, qualification and calibration records, stability protocols and reports, site master files, quality manuals, annual product reviews, regulatory dossiers, DMFs. So we see, what is role of QA overall. No area is left wherein there is no responsibility. So that is the importance of QA in the manufacturing perspective. We'll understand what is annual product review. Annual product review is a quality review, which it is a report that is prepared with an objective of verifying the consistency of the existing process and the appropriateness of current specifications, to highlight any trends and to identify both product and process improvements. So it is every product that is manufactured at the site needs to have an annual product quality review. That is a report. So this report will say, it will include each and every batch that is manufactured for that period of 1 year. What is the trend of different quality attributes, be it pertaining to the manufacturing or for the analysis quality perspectives. It even includes the stability trend. This review is so important, that this determines, it gives an insight into how the product is performing. So if there is an out of trend and all, it will be easily, it can easily be identified by APQR. So this is also one of the major areas where QA is responsible. QA is overall responsible for the compliance at the site, and this compliance is nothing but adherence to the guidelines and legislations of the various countries. And the QA has to keep an update. What are the regulatory updates that is happening to that particular regulatory agency, and accordingly they have to make the changes. So overall, Department of Quality Assurance need to ensure compliance at the site. Now, the records and reports we have already seen. It should be alcohol plus. It has to be contemporaneous. Documentation is critical. That means whenever the activity happens, immediately it has to be recorded. It can be recorded in a digital manner or in a hard copy. So if there is a hard copy record, you have to put the details, sign it off and date. If it is a digital electronic form, we have to log in with using proper password, log in, and then record the data. So whatever way it is, there has to be proof. Field alert reports, that is with respect to the performance, if you get any complaints and if it results in a product failure or during the stability, immediately we have to raise field alert reports. Or adverse drug experience, that is pro complaints, everything, then we have to initiate the recall procedure. Recall procedure is another important aspect of quality assurance, which needs to be handled very critically. And we come to what is data integrity. Data integrity is the current and most favorite topic of the regulators. Data integrity incident is the documentation or practice of wrongful conduct. Just mind it, wrongful conduct that raises significant questions about the reliability of data generated or submitted through wrongful acts. Okay, so it is, what is it? So it can be like submitting of a fraudulent application for registration, making an untrue statement of a material fact or a false statement, misstatement, or an omission of a fact. So omission of a fact is also data integrity. Submitting unreliable data which raises concern on the organization culture, an untrue statement or an omission of a fact, okay, and substitution of data, falsified records. This is a very important activity wherein we have to take care. So each and every member, like every person is responsible for quality. We have seen one of the slides. Similarly, every person, every individual in the organization is responsible to ensure data integrity in whatever role they are working. Good documentation practices we have already seen. Some examples is like leaving blank spaces in a GMP document. This is not acceptable. Correcting the data by covering the original data. So if there is a mistake, you have to just strike it off with a single line, sign it off, seeing that what is the original data and why it has been corrected. Then correcting the data without signature, date and annotation or reason for correction, that is offensive. Entering data in advance before the activity is done, so suppose if you are in a shop floor, you have to monitor certain temperature and humidity condition. Before the time, you already fill the data. That is a data integrity issue, and it is something related to non-following of a GMP process. Using unauthorized Xerox copies. So whatever formats we are using, SOP or whatever we are referring, we should use authorized versions. Authorized means issued by QA, authorized, and current documents. Destroying original documents is very much offensive, not at all acceptable. Then password being used by more than one person for activities which have designated authority. You cannot share the passwords. Falsification of data leading to doubtful data integrity. So these are various examples of data integrity in good documentation practices. Now we come to the slide, wherein many of you in your mind, you might be thinking, what are the various job opportunities for quality professionals. And as I briefed, in this entire presentation, there are a lot of opportunities and there are a lot of involvement of QA. And I would say that even I've spent 30 years in the industry, but still, I feel that every day I get a new learning. And it's so, I mean, I enjoy that rather, So every day leads to a new learning, actually. This domain is something, wherein the learning doesn't stop anywhere. Okay, what we used to do 5 years back, 10 years back, it has changed. Enormously it has changed, and we need to keep ourselves updated, right, with the latest trend, latest regulations and latest methods of operations. So what is the skills required? What are the skill required is that basic education, maybe a degree in chemistry or pharmacy or life sciences. Computer literacy is a must because now everything is digital and much of the process is automated. So computer literacy is a must. We should have analytical ability. Now, this analytical ability is not something which is related to analysis. Our minds should be having analysis capability, that analytics of the data and something like the data is given, what all you can infer from that. So that skill should be developed. Then investigation skills should be there. You should learn more and more skills, how to do a good investigation, to solve the problems. We should be able to work in a team. That is a must because we are not working isolated in the industry. We have got a team, we have got a department. We have to work cross-functional also. Like a person working in quality control has to interact with warehouse, with production, with quality control. So it is something like we should be adjusting with the team. We should be quick and continuous learning and mindset for learning new things. This I explained in the very beginning. You should be open to learning, and you should have a thirst to learning. You can take my example. When I'm saying that after spending 30 years, I still find many areas where I can learn. I can have a good learning. I got even my seniors in the industry, who keep on working, and every day, they interact with team members and they keep them updated, what are the developments in the industry, in the regulations and whatnot. But I tell you, there are a lot of opportunities. Then we should have good communication, good technical writing skills and good documentation knowledge. So basic knowledge of what documentation is and how to do the documentation. What are the various opportunities? So initially, like to start the job with quality control role like an analyst, you may choose, if you're getting a role as an analyst, because what I have observed is that moving from quality control to quality assurance gives you more weightage, because when you are there at the shop floor, many things happen, quality related aspects, some failures and all. So if you got little bit experience from the quality control per se, then okay, this is what it is, this can be linked to this problem. So if you get an opportunity to move to quality control, don't deny it. Then even manufacturing QA roles, so in the manufacturing scenario, in-process QA is there. We've got engineering QA roles also. We've got GMP auditing and supplier management QA roles. Because as you've seen in the previous slide, even vendor auditing is also an important aspect. And supplier management, there is an entire supplier, we have to deal with many suppliers. Then batch release QA roles, that is a role of QP. Then QMS roles. QMS is the upper role of handling complaints, deviations, change controls, inspection. This is also a very important role. Then QA documentation officers, distribution QA roles, regulatory and development QA roles. So these are the broad aspects or the categories, wherein we can have QA functions working. Now, I would like to conclude my talk today with a famous saying, that wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is a love, also a love of humanity. So medicine is indirectly related to humanity, that we have seen, and this is a quote from Hippocrates. So we are manufacturing for whom? We are manufacturing our product for the patients. Now the patients can be someone else, our neighbor, our relatives, our friend, even our loved ones, isn't it? So we should have a love for humanity. Then only then we'll be able to produce good quality of medicines. And with this, I would just like to conclude my today's talk, and with best wishes to each one of you for your success in the academic as well as in the professional career ahead.
Yes, thank you, madam, for your wonderful session over here. And I would like to thanks to the SHEELU Philip ma'am for giving a suggestion to invite you as eminent speaker on this topic, quality assurance.
My pleasure.
And it's reflecting that you are having a 30 years of experience. This is a very broad branch over here, because right from the beginning of your plant step, where in the building you are taking a step in your building, and the end product, whatever come out in the market, everything is covered in the quality assurance. So many times the people who are get engaged in a quality assurance job, they are blamed by the other department people. They are like, yes, they are behaving that the Sherlock Holmes, that every time they are finding some kind of the every process, and some they are always blamed with that one. And certainly they are also responsible for giving the training for the each step where there is a fault is coming over there. And this is also the responsibility of the quality assurance peoples. One of the quote I have read out yesterday regarding with this kind of the situation, that whenever you are not in the get engaged into the such kind of the job, you are feel it like a easy. When you are responsible doing the job, that the statement by the CEO of GE, that reflect the quality assurance is how much important. Now this next session is for the question and answer session. I will hand over this session to Professor Dongre madam afterward, but I would like to summarize this session in such a way that particularly what the quality assurance is, we can consider over here the lots of opportunities we can get as in perspective of the jobs, because the India is likely to be a top 5 countries in the top 5 countries who are exporting a huge medicinal products to the several countries. And due to that one, there are the so many companies that don't have that much of the manpower, and so on. They are hiring the Indian companies to manufacture their product, or Indian companies are also get engaged to export that particular product to that respective country. But every country, mostly the developed countries, they are having the such a regulatory guidelines like that of US FDA, MHRA and TGA, like that of everyone has to follow that one. And this is the very good opportunity, because the foreign countries, if they are interested to invest their monies and getting their product outcome from the India, always the payers from the outside the country will give the handsome money to the opportunities who are getting over there, like that one. And madam have explained everything regarding with the job opportunity. Huge portfolios are available over there. You can ask about the most of the question on related to that one, because she can explain each and everything regarding with the job portfolio that you would like to get engaged in the future. Thank you, madam, once again for sharing that kind of the session to here. Now I would like to hand over this session to Professor Dongre madam to conduct the question and answer session. And those who want to ask their question by directly interacting with our eminent speaker, they can put their name into the chat box. One by one, we will give you the opportunity to get interacted with ma'am. Okay, so over to Dongre madam, you can unmute yourself and carry on this session over here.
Thank you, ma'am, to discuss with such an excellent topic. But there is some queries from our attendees. So one question from a student, ma'am, if any condition final product the AC not in limit, then whole batch rejected. So what happened this similar batch? Ma'am, this question from a student.
Okay. So as I explained, we call it as failure investigation. It's not that the entire batch is rejected. See, when we get the analysis done in the laboratory and we find that the SE is not meeting the requirements, there is a process. We have to log a OS, out of specification result record, and then we carry out the entire investigation. First of all, there are different stages of investigation. We'll see, whether this failure is due to an error in the laboratory per se. So we'll have to rule out. There is a big checklist. We have to rule out each and every stage, whether it's something related to the laboratory. So assignable. Then we come to assignable cause, non-assignable cause. So once the entire investigation is carried out in the laboratory, and we say that the batch is still failing, then we have to proceed to the shop floor. So shop floor, when we proceed, we review the batch records, we reviewed the process, procedures and all. And in few cases, we may go in for a retesting or we may go in for a resampling, but the entire process is very elaborate and every step has to be documented and every stage has to be authorized by QA. If at final stage it comes that the product is failing, still failing, then we will have to release the batch. But reject the batch. But rejecting the batch is not the end to it, We'll have to come out with a root cause and find out why it failed and how we can prevent this failure in future. So we call it as a CAPA. So identifying the reason for the rejection, that is root cause, and then take it towards a CAPA, that is a corrective action and a preventive action, so that in future we don't land up in this sort of a rejection. So it's not that every batch will be rejected. It has to undergo a thorough investigation process. Then only this decision will be taken.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. One question is that regarding how manage quality requirement for the production of sera, anti-sera and vaccine.
Okay, so if you've gone through that QBD slide, so QBD slide, when we are, so for every product, whether it is a vaccine or it is some other dosage form, whatever it is, the requirement that how the product has to be manufactured in each and every stage is decided at the development stage. So we call it as quality by design, and at the development stage, enough of the development activities is carried out and the entire procedure is laid out. The manufacturing process, handling, everything is laid out and we have to follow it. If you're not following it, what happens? We'll land up in problems, there'll be deviation, there'll be failures and all this. So it's not only for vaccines or anything like that, it is for each and every, even if you're manufacturing a small tablet, a simple formulation also, we have to follow the procedure which is given by R&D. And R&D, how do they develop the product? It is after lot of research, lot of development activities, they are giving us the formulation procedure. So we call it as a batch manufacturing record. So each and every stage will be documented and the procedure would be given and we have to document each and every stage in that. So as I mentioned in the presentation, this activity of manufacturing itself is a very GMP compliant activity which each and every person has to ensure.
Okay. Ma'am, one question from a student, that is, she asked What are the career opportunities for freshers in QA department? From Monica Ande.
Okay, for freshers, so for freshers, as I said, if you get an opportunity to enter in quality control or quality assurance, you should accept it. Okay, you should not be choosy that I'll go only for the manufacturing QA or I'll go only for the quality management system. Wherever you get a chance, what my learning is that maybe 30 years back, whatever opportunity you get, you just grab it. You enter the industry, start learning it. What my advice to the students is that initial 3 to 5 years is very crucial. Therein, you have to put in your best work, hard work, gain the maximum knowledge. Maybe after 3 years or 5 years, you reach a certain level, wherein you will be a little bit confident, but still the learning won't stop there. So for the freshers, if you get an opportunity in manufacturing QA, take it. If you get an opportunity in a quality management system, take it. There are opportunities even for the regulatory also. We call it DRA, Drug Regulatory Affairs. There also QA person can get, But my advice is that there is a lot of competition in the industry, and as I said, there are certain qualities that you must develop. It is not that you just come out of the college and you expect that somebody will hire you. You should develop certain qualities, both practical as well as theoretical, professional as well as soft skills, like communication skills, okay, and team management.
Okay.
Certain skills are there which you should develop on your own. Then probably you can be successful. That is, I can give an advice to the students.
Thank you. One student, Sakshi Ikhar, wants to be interact with you directly. Ande sir, please connect her. Sakshi Ikhar wants to be interact with you directly. Ande sir, please connect her.
Sakshi, you can unmute your mic and you can ask the question to the ma'am.
Okay, sir. Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, my question is that what is the process of SOP modification?
SOP modification.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so SOP generation, you have understood, no? How the SOPs are generated. Okay, so in the R&D perspective, if you are, so SOPs are for each and everything. As I said, simple SOP like gowning, entering into the premises, right, to the different steps of analyticals or in the manufacturing. Once the SOP is established, and if QA or the user department feels that there has to be a change, we go through a change control. In the change control, we say that this is a proposed change, existing and then proposed change. This change, as you have seen in my slides, it has to be vetted by the SMEs and the CFT team along with QA, and they'll assess the impact, and then we'll get a go-ahead whether this change can be executed or not. SOPs cannot be changed left and right because SOPs are even shared with the regulatory authorities. So whatever changes we are proposing, it has to be thoroughly vetted by QA, then only we'll get a permission to change. I hope I answered your question.
No, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, Dongre ma'am.
Session is over here. Question answer session is over here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think so. There are so many queries make it asked by the students in afterward by submitting the feedback form. Also, they can ask the question to our speaker. We will carry forward that queries to ma'am, and we'll get connected with the answers to you. So
no problem. If you still feel that there are some queries and it needs to be answered, you can forward it to me. It will be my pleasure to answer them.
Yeah. It's our pleasure that you are giving the answers to the students, what are their queries. So here in the chat box, I am going to add this feedback link over here, and you can put the your queries also in a suggestion box. So click on this link, whatever present over here in a chat box, and you will also get e-certificate on the submission of the feedback form over here within a 2 to 3 days. Okay, so this session last is nothing but this valedictory session over here. So I would like to express my gratitude towards Matilda, George, for giving us time for giving this presentation to the students and faculty members and attendees over here. I would like to thank to SHEELU Philip ma'am for giving us a contact for giving this type of the arrangement for the students. And I would like to thank to our management and the principal for giving the permission to conduct this webinar for the students and the betterment of these students. And last but not the least, that the attendees who have attended this webinar over here, I would like to thank to them also, because without their encouragement, we cannot proceed for arranging such kind of the webinars. Okay, so this is our last move for this type of the session. We will come with a new topic on the quality assurance, or some on the research and development, or the job opportunity career, like that of the topic. So if madam is available over here, Matilda George ma'am, please tell us also about your training program related to the quality assurance and quality control. Then what we will conclude this session.
Okay, so for the benefit of the students and the participants, I would like to inform that I am associated with Pharma Training Institute here in Bangalore. This is a non-profit organization wherein we are covering almost all the pharmacy colleges in Karnataka, and similar type of sessions, we used to organize at the site. And parallelly, if you people are more interested to get more insight into the respective topics, we can arrange for, because of this pandemic, maybe you will not be able to travel, so we can even arrange for specified topics training. If you want to get into quality control, I can arrange for specific topics training through webinars, online trainings, wherein if you are suppose preparing for some interviews and you need to have some basic knowledge, so we can prepare you for that sort of a training. So that I just wanted to share it with you based on your interest and the area that you are looking forward, or the career opportunities. If you want any guidance and all, I'm available for that. I can provide it. That's what I just wanted to tell you. And we are doing this sort of training sessions for almost all the colleges here in Karnataka. And it is my pleasure today to spend the time with you, and it's a pretty good attendance. It's almost 192 students, participants I was seeing, and with that I understand like how much people are enthusiastic and they want to gather the knowledge, and so it's a good insight. We can make use of the opportunity, and I really appreciate the college, the professors for organizing this sort of training. And in future also, if you want anything, sir, any particular topic, you can let me know. Because it's my passion to impart knowledge. What I feel is that whatever I've gained, I've gained in a similar manner from my seniors, and I think that I should share it with the juniors, so that the industry per se, they benefit out of it, and the students benefit out of it. Thank you for this.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for your words over here, and for sharing your this idea regarding with getting the training from online or the offline from the non-profit organization. This is very good thing for the student also, that before entering into the any kind of the industry or any kind of the job portfolio, they should make it assured that the knowledge regarding with their job profile, they should be fully and thoroughly and practically get understood what they are going to do in the future. Most of the time the student get engaged in the job, and later on they feel that they are not having that much of the knowledge, and later they get somewhat depressed regarding with their job profile. So before entering, you must judge yourself that how much tough is it for you, or how much easy for you, or how much learned perspective for you, that you can get a skillful things which is useful for the industry as well as for the yourself. So you can get that ideology over here. Ma'am, this is a very good thing that we can share some kind of the students ideology or your institution for sharing some kind of the training program. So we will definitely going to get connected with you in future also, and try to convince the student to get the training regarding with the quality assurance and quality control. Thanks once again for joining with us in today's session. Thanks once again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
link is over here, and you can get your certificate and feedback form from this link. Thanks for joining everyone for today's session. Here I am going to conclude this meeting over here. In nearby future, we are going to arrange one another seminar for you or webinar for you. So till then, stay safe, be safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Best luck and best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.